Hi, welcome to The Art of Living. In this series, we explore the intersections between art and architecture and how the two coexist and influence each other. This is particularly important for my own design process, but in this series, we're actually exploring it through the eyes of other architects, artists, designers, gallerists and patrons to see how it affects their own lives and work. Today we're going to the studio of Christopher Boots. He's a lighting designer and artist and has quite a large following internationally with clients such as Hermes, Cartier, the National Gallery of Victoria and Rossano Orlandi in Milan. His work references classical, metaphysical worlds as well as geology and alchemy, and you'll see how they all come together in these incredibly high quality collectible pieces. Christopher, tell me a little bit about the work, which obviously your work is all about having it forever, which I think is a really important consideration when you're buying a piece of design, whether it's a light or a piece of furniture, that it's a forever piece. And obviously your clients have the same opinion. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you've evolved your practice into creating these really highly valued pieces.
Well, the idea behind good design for me basically is something that is designed to be handed down through generations, not designed for landfill. And I think that can be a struggle with a lot of contemporary design, is that it's made for speed and it's made for sort of trend or fashion. But I guess my work has deliberately got that flavour that, due to the materiality and the way that those materials are treated, is designed to be handed down, to sort of be forever as much as possible. And utilising these very traditional materials like these rocks, like these minerals, like the way that we treat a lot of metals, I think for me comes from that idea of antiquity, where you have sort of, these things that have survived thousands of years coming down. For me is a bit of a driver for design in the background as part of the thinking, because it'd be lovely to see things that have been made very well last for not only, a particular project, but what is that going to look like in 50 years time or 100 years time when we're gone. That object will speak about our times long after our voices have gone. Yes.
And a lot of the stones and the materials that you use are sourced from the most incredible areas, such as this piece here. This has come from Tucson?
Yeah, I went to Tucson earlier this year and it was really fun and there's some great stuff. And this piece in particular was pretty outstanding. It's a zebra obsidian. So there's streaks of brown and smoke with black. It has quite a provenance. I bought it in Tucson off a Japanese lady who worked for a French company who sourced the stone and made it in Brazil and then sold it in Tucson to an Australian that brought it back to Australia. So some of these things have pretty wacky kind of origins and sort of where they come from, how they've come to be, is an area that we're going to be really looking at to sort of really understand the kind of place that it came from. Was it legitimate? How did that happen? Is there, because there's no sort of fair trade system like you'd have now for coffees and foods and everything.
There isn't that for stone.
Yeah, there isn't that for stone. So we really are going to be undertaking that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
But I think what's beautiful as well is that your pieces, you're talking about the provenance of the materials, but then I think in the future your pieces will be exploring the provenance of those when they go to auction at Christie's.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That's kind of like my secret desire is like hundreds of years after I'm dead that these works are like in auction houses commanding great money and I'll be like satisfied. Yeah.
what I like about your attitude towards the provenance of not only the materials but the provenance of your work and where that's going to go and where it's going to end up is aligned with your clients' attitude to their product as well.
Totally. Well, we are really focused on ensuring that the work that we do will last beyond our sort of lifetimes, and it sort of reverberates down and through, and focusing on really good quality materials, quality workmanship, quality creativity, good design, I think will generally make for something that will last for a really long time.
Yeah.
A really long time. Who knows how long that will be, whether, you know, late capitalism ends it all, whatever it might be. But for us, doing the best that we can with what we have is really our aim. So this is actually the largest to date Petra that we've made.
Yeah.
So it's custom made for Cartier's flagship in Shanghai. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. The only problem I have with it is that some of the stones are too good.
Too perfect or too
good, like the transparency that you have on some of these is amazing, and we have less control than you would think over the stone that comes to us.
Yes.
So as architects and interior designers, we'll go to a stone supplier and select their splashbacks from a series of works that are already there. It's very contained and controlled. Ours is a little bit wilder than that.
Yeah.
So often we're at the mercy of what we'll receive, and therefore we have to work it through our design. So I guess in a way we sit between being artists working with particular palettes and designers desiring a specific outcome.
Yeah.
So that tension is pretty much always present in the work, and can be difficult sometimes to communicate to our clients because that's just the way it is. But I think I secretly like that.
Yeah.
And I like being a little bit in column A and column B. But that's the reality, and I think that's how you actually achieve unique outcomes, is sometimes a little bit of tension. Yeah.
Great. Now, just talking about lapis, this is obviously a really unusual stone that you're working with here, and it's on a piece that you've done, which we've encountered at Rosanna Orlandi Gallery in Milan, which is, you know, really propelling you into the international arena for design and art. Maybe talk to us about Rosanna's piece that you have there and the beauty of this stone.
Lapis lazuli is, I guess, what you'd call a semi-precious kind of gem, composed of a few different minerals, azurite, calcite, pyrite, etc. But the deep blue is what really attracted me to that kind of stone. Again, possibly its use in like classical antiquity, its real beauty that comes down through the ages, and the fact that blue is kind of in a way a bit of a rare colour in nature. Like it's quite, it's quite bold and strong. So the choice of lapis for me was really based on kind of honouring this beautiful semi-precious gem. This piece that you see here was a mirror frame that we sort of did as a trial in a way. At the same time we made a cabinet for Rosanna Orlandi in Milan. Yeah. And the idea behind the cabinet was a, how would we put it? I guess a fantasy piece or an indulgent piece where it wasn't specifically made for a client because, as you know, clients have needs and budgets and specificities. So the cabinet was a opportunity to really go as crazy as possible in a way. So with the cabinet, this kind of concept that you've got this encrusted, kind of very heavy kind of object, you know, this like kind of rectangular form, and it's like encrusted, and then you sort of open it up, and on the inside you have like this polished brass and like crystals and light. Was really just to have a little bit of fun.
It's quite organic on the inside, you know, compared to this sort of rectilinear box that contains it, which I find really interesting as well.
But to allow, I guess with this kind of work, to allow a bit of expressionism through the work is much freer than something that is machined and polished and designed to the millimetre to fit, which most of our work is made in that format. So the concept of the cabinet was to discover expressionism and really feel that as an emotion and how that would come out. So that idea is something that is kind of fun to indulge, like once a year or so.
Yeah.
I wish we could do that all the time, but watch this space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And other clients where you've had these more sort of artistic installations, such as the windows that you did for Hermes, which I find really interesting, and even the light that you did at Humming Puppy in New York. They're quite free pieces. They're beyond a product as such.
Yeah, having a client with a brief that is, if not open, very open to interpretation, I think is really important. And the dialogue between, I guess, the artist or designer and the client to find an outcome that the client is kind of seeking with the direction of the designer artist is really critical. So working with Hermes was really amazing because their team was super supportive of whatever ideas were kind of going on, and that's really honourable and rare and special to be able to have that kind of trust in the process that it's actually going to be really, really good. And that's quite refreshing from the difference of a whole lot of other projects, which can be very specific.
Yeah.
But with Hermes, the ideas were more important, and especially needing to communicate this, the theme for that year, which was metamorphosis and change.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Was really aligned, I guess, with
you.
kind of what I sort of do. So sort of came together really nicely and beautifully. And then you can sort of see the outcome that we got from that. And other clients, such as Humming Puppy in New York, I have this beautiful large Goliath, we called it.
Yeah.
Because David had worked on it here in the studio. And so I was like, it's a really big object. David versus Goliath, that's going to be it.
And how did that come about? Did Jackie, who owns Humming Puppy, did she just let you come up with what you wanted, or did she?
No, we'd already created that piece
okay.
as a exploration fantasy piece. How far can we go?
Yeah.
Is this idea crazy? Is it feasible? All of those kinds of questions were sort of coming in, and that's what fed that creative process of just doing it for the sake of the outcome.
Yeah.
And Jackie had come across the piece in a gallery and just went, this is it. This is the piece.
Yeah, and is the piece in the space.
Yeah. So it's really amazing when, I guess that's what artists do.
Exactly.
Again, our artist-designer crossover.
Yeah.
When you do something for the love of it, I think people can pick up on that.
So, Christopher, tell me a little bit about this workspace. I mean, your studio is quite malleable, obviously, and seems to move around from workspace to kitchen space to meeting space.
Design rooms. The space in and of itself is really precious, but it's about how you use it that really affects, I guess at the end, what comes out of it, or how you can kind of make it become something. This particular area here that we're in is kind of, I guess, more the sort of prototyping, testing kind of area.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of commission work for clients, and generally our design team located in that room will design something, work with our sales people that negotiate with the client, and then we'll have this sort of prototyping area. We have a 3D printer, which has been really great to rapidly test out little ideas and pieces. And then for me, being a visual, spatial person, I actually really need objects to work with when it's a more materially based kind of project.
That's right. I mean, obviously, these are all individual, unique pieces that you really do need that transition from computer to the hand, and how you need to cross over constantly between the two, which is really interesting.
That's right, and being able to translate those different languages through material and through client brief is super critical. So that's how this space kind of functions. And like for me, being able to lay out some objects and really have a think about the material, think about the context and the placement is quite critical. I mean, I'm sure you can imagine when you do a mood board, you have something similar, and contextualizing all our parts is
pull it
critical.
apart and move them around and see what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, so you might have little sections of brass, and you go, okay, that brass is wonderful. Maybe you even need to place part of that obsidian here, a little bit dusty because the studio is messy quite often. So you're like, oh, okay, that could kind of work as a visual harmony. And then sometimes you just might want to kind of mess it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
I love it.
Okay, maybe it's our new door handle.
That's mine. Done.
Great.
Thank you.
Invoice you later.
The last space that we're looking at in your studio today is the new gallery space. So how do you find or curate the artists that are actually going to exhibit in this space?
Well, we actually have a lady that works with us who studied, I think it was arts management.
Yep.
And I just thought, well, we have this space here again because of the programming. I guess when the building was built, this would have been a reception space. But we don't have a receptionist. We're not that kind of operation. And so then this would sort of work as a dumping space for crap or a kind of a waiting area, but it wasn't quite working. So we decided that we would strip it out, do it as a white box, and use it as a gallery space to represent artists who don't really have representation, that are maybe a little bit early in their career, and people who are sort of trying to find a foot into presenting their work in a space that can support them without any commercial pressure. Alice Gascoigne, artist curator. We didn't plan that, but that's Alice. So Alice actually runs an Instagram for Gallery Boot, which is the name of the space, as a sort of separate adjunct, and then artists are invited to apply there. And so we sort of go through those applications and then we have a look, and then sometimes we're like, wow, we really need to have more female representation because females are underrepresented. So that, as an example, will colour how we choose things at a particular point. And I think going forwards, it's also very open. We've had installation kind of works happen. We've had paintings, we've had sculpture, we've had etchings, we've had drawings. So it's pretty open to interpretation. And it's just nice to have one room or one space where we kind of don't know what the work is going to be. And that not only inspires us, it also supports artists and also just mixes things up a bit.
That's fantastic.
Keeps it fun.
It's great. Christopher, thank you so much for today. It's been really inspiring, and just to see the quality of your work and your sort of global reach is really exciting, and I can't wait to see what you're doing next.
Oh, thanks, Fiona. I really appreciate you coming in and giving us a nice reflection on what we do.
Thank you.
Thank you.